What if I told you that Berry Gordy called Marvin Gaye's greatest song career suicide and refused to release it? Or that Otis Redding died 3 days after recording his only #1 hit, a song he never even finished? These aren't just forgotten songs. These are 12 R&B classics that record executives rejected, radio stations ignored, and even the artists themselves doubted. Number 8 was recorded by a hospital orderly in a borrowed studio with one microphone. Number 1 sat unreleased for over a year because the label called it too political. By the time you finish this video, you'll never listen to these songs the same way again. Let's go. Number 12, Respect. Aretha Franklin, 1967, originally by Otis Redding, 1965. Here's something most people don't know. Respect wasn't originally Aretha Franklin's song, and when Otis Redding first released it in 1965, it barely made a dent. Otis wrote and recorded Respect as a mid-tempo soul number about a working man asking his woman for respect when he gets home. The song peaked at number 35 on the pop charts. Respectable, but not a smash hit. Then Aretha Franklin heard it and had a completely different vision. She took that song into Atlantic Records' studios in February 1967 with producer Jerry Wexler. They sped up the tempo, added that iconic R-E-S-P-E-C-T spelling section, and brought in her sisters for background vocals. But the most important change? Aretha flipped the perspective. This wasn't a man asking for respect anymore. This was a woman demanding it. The song became an anthem. When Aretha's version was released in April 1967, it exploded. It hit number 1 on both pop and R&B charts and became the soundtrack to the civil rights movement and emerging feminism. Otis graciously said Aretha took his song and made it her own. Respect won 2 Grammys and became her signature song forever. Number 11, I Heard It Through the Grapevine. Marvin Gaye, 1968. Originally by Gladys Knight and the Pips, 1967. Motown Records sat on one of the greatest songs ever written for over a year because they didn't believe in it. That's how close we came to never hearing Marvin Gaye's version. Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong wrote it in 1966. Gladys Knight and the Pips recorded it first, releasing it in September 1967. It went to number 2 on the pop charts. But Marvin Gaye had actually recorded his version before Gladys, and it was darker, slower, more ominous. Berry Gordy heard Marvin's version and rejected it. Too long, too dark, too different. He refused to release it as a single. Marvin was devastated. Then a DJ in Buffalo got a promotional copy and started playing it. The phone lines exploded. Other DJs picked it up. Soon, radio stations nationwide were playing an album track that wasn't even a single. Berry Gordy had no choice. In October 1968, over a year after Marvin recorded it, Motown finally released it as a single. It shot to number 1 and stayed there for 7 weeks, becoming Motown's biggest selling single up to that point. Number 10, Stand By Me. Benny King, 1961. Flopped initially. Hit in 1986, Benny King recorded Stand By Me in 1961 after leaving the Drifters. The song was inspired by a gospel hymn and co-written with Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. When first released, it did moderately well, reaching number 4 on both R&B and pop charts. Not bad, but not a phenomenon. Then, the song faded away for 25 years. Just another oldies track. In 1986, director Rob Reiner was making a coming-of-age film and needed the perfect song about friendship and loyalty. Someone suggested Stand By Me. He named the entire film after it. When the movie was released in August 1986, magic happened. Young people who'd never heard the song fell in love with it. Radio stations started playing it again. MTV put the video in heavy rotation. Stand By Me. Stand By Me re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 in September 1986, 25 years after its original release. It climbed to number 9. In the UK, it went to number 1. Benny King, now in his late 40s, found himself with a hit again. A song that faded into obscurity became eternal. Number 9, The Twist. Chubby Checker, 1960, originally by Hank Ballard, 1959. Hey! Hank Ballard and the Midnighters recorded The Twist in 1959 as a B-side. The song had a great beat and simple dance, but radio stations ignored it. It barely registered on the charts. Yeah! Then Dick Clark heard the song and loved it, but Hank Ballard had a reputation for risque songs. Clark wanted something cleaner, so he suggested Chubby Checker record a cover version. In summer 1960, Checker recorded his version, almost identical to Hank's original, but it had Dick Clark's promotional machine behind it. Clark played it on American Bandstand and taught teenagers how to do the twist dance. Just like this. Come on, little bit. The Twist hit number 1 in September 1960. But here's the remarkable part. The song fell off the charts, then started climbing again in 1961. We're gonna twist it. By January 1962, The Twist was back at number 1. It became the only song in history to reach number 1 in 2 different chart runs. The Twist became a national phenomenon. Chubby Checker became a superstar while Hank Ballard watched someone else turn his song into a cultural revolution. Number 8. When a Man Loves a Woman. Percy, Sledge, 1966. Percy Sledge was working as a hospital orderly in Sheffield, Alabama when he wrote When a Man Loves a Woman. He was heartbroken over a girlfriend and poured all that pain into a song he sang at local clubs after his hospital shifts. In 1965, DJ Quinn Ivy heard him perform it and insisted on recording Percy immediately. They went to Ivy's small studio with borrowed equipment and local musicians. Percy sang it in one take, his voice cracking with real emotion. Ivy shopped the recording to several labels. Most passed. They didn't hear a hit. Finally, Atlantic Records agreed to release it with low expectations and limited copies. Then DJs started playing it on heavy rotation. Listeners demanded it again and again. The song spread from Alabama to Georgia to Tennessee. By May 1966, it hit number 1 on both pop and R&B charts. Percy Sledge, the hospital orderly, was suddenly a national star. The song became one of the definitive soul ballads of the 60s, later covered by Michael Bolton, who took it back to number 1 in 1991. Number 7, At Last. Etta James, 1960, originally by Glenn Miller Orchestra, 1942. At Last. At Last was originally written for a 1941 musical and first recorded by the Glenn Miller Orchestra in 1942. That version was a moderate hit, but nothing spectacular. The song drifted into obscurity for nearly 20 years. In 1960, Chess Records decided to record a new version with Etta James. She was only 22, but already had a reputation for intense performances.
Yes. Come along.
The recording session at Chess Studios in Chicago was magical, with Etta singing with such depth and maturity. But when released in December 1960, it didn't set the world on fire.
They're over.
It peaked at number 47 on the pop charts. Not a complete flop, but definitely not the hit Chess Records hoped for. The song faded from view. Then something strange happened over the following decades. The song refused to die. It kept getting discovered by new generations. It became a wedding staple and appeared in movies and commercials.
The skies above.
By the 1990s, At Last was everywhere. It became Etta's signature song. When she passed away in 2012, it became her eternal legacy.
It's wrapped up.
A song that barely charted in 1960 became one of the most beloved recordings in American music history. Number 6, Hold On, I'm Comin', Sam and Dave, 1966. Sam Moore and Dave Prater were struggling when they arrived at Stax Records in Memphis in 1965. They'd had minor hits, but nothing that made them stars. Stax was their last chance. Songwriting team Isaac Hayes and David Porter were assigned to write for them. The story of how the song got its title is legendary. Isaac was in the bathroom during a writing session. David needed him and Isaac shouted, "Hold on, I'm coming." Porter immediately said, "That's our song title." They recorded it at Stax with Booker T and the MGs as the backing band. Sam and Dave brought incredible intensity, pushing each other and creating magic through friendly rivalry. When released in March 1966, radio stations were hesitant. Some thought the title was too suggestive. Others didn't think Sam and Dave had enough name recognition. The song entered the charts slowly, but DJs noticed that every time they played it, listeners responded. The energy was undeniable. By May 1966, it hit number 1 on R&B charts and reached number 21 on pop charts. Sam and Dave went from struggling artists to soul music royalty practically overnight.
Before we go any further, take a second with me. If these songs are bringing back memories, if you're hearing voices you haven't thought about in years, that's exactly what Groove Lens is here for. We don't rush the music, we don't skip the stories, we let the soul breathe. So if this journey through 1964 is hitting home, subscribe now. Because the deeper we go into the years ahead, the stories only get richer. And trust me, the next few songs don't just sound good, they mean something. Now, let's keep going.
Number 5, Try a Little Tenderness, Otis Redding, 1966, originally released in 1932. Try a Little Tenderness was written in 1932 and recorded by Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra. It was a standard for lounge singers and middle-aged audiences.
Now I know she's waiting.
Then Otis Redding got his hands on it in 1966. When Otis told the Stax team he wanted to record it, they were skeptical. It was an old song, a white song, a song for crooners.
No. But wow.
But Otis had a vision. Start slow and tender, then build it into an explosive finale. The recording session was extraordinary. Otis started singing gently, almost whispering. The band played softly. Then slowly, the intensity built. By the end, Otis was screaming and the horns were blasting. It was a complete transformation.
Words, they all spoke so gentle, yeah.
Released in November 1966, radio programmers didn't know what to do with it. Too long, too slow at the start, too intense at the end. But audiences got it immediately. At live shows, crowds went wild.
Now it might be.
The recording reached number 4 on R&B charts. When Otis performed it at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967, he converted an entire generation of rock fans.
Yeah. But the song.
A 34-year-old standard became one of the most electrifying performances in soul music history.
Young girls, they don't forget it. Love.
Number 4, Piece of My Heart, Aretha Franklin, 1967, hit by Janis Joplin, 1968.
Think that a woman possibly can.
Aretha Franklin was Aretha's older sister with matching talent. In 1967, she recorded Piece of My Heart, written specifically for her by Jerry Ragavoy and Burt Burns. Irma's version was powerful and emotionally raw, but it stalled on the charts, reaching number 10 on R&B, but barely touching pop charts. Radio played it occasionally, but it never caught fire. Irma was disappointed, but continued performing it at live shows. Then Janis Joplin heard it. Janis was lead singer of Big Brother and the Holding Company and looking for material. Someone played her Irma's version, and Janis connected immediately with the pain and desperation.
Was the only man.
When Janis recorded it in 1968, she attacked it with ferocious intensity. Her voice was raw, ragged, screaming with emotion. Less polished than Irma's, but more visceral. Janis's version was released in August 1968 and became a massive hit, reaching number 12 and becoming her signature song. Her Woodstock performance in 1969 cemented it as a rock classic. Irma watched as someone else took her song and became a superstar with it. Number 3, The Dock of the Bay, Otis Redding, 1968, posthumous hit.
Sitting in the morning sun.
Otis Redding recorded Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay in November and December 1967. It was a departure from his usual high-energy soul. Reflective, mellow, almost folk-influenced. Otis co-wrote it with Steve Cropper after spending time on a houseboat in Sausalito, California.
I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay.
He added a whistling section at the end as a placeholder, planning to add another verse later, but he never got the chance.
Everything still remains the same.
On December 10th, 1967, 3 days after the final recording session, Otis's plane crashed into Lake Monona in Wisconsin.
Sitting here resting my bones.
He was 26 years old. The music world was devastated. Steve Cropper faced a difficult decision: release the unfinished song.
Just to make this dock.
After talking with Otis's widow, he decided to release it as recorded, whistling and all. Released in January 1968, radio stations were initially hesitant.
I'm sitting on a dock of.
It was so different from Otis's other hits, slow, contemplative, melancholy, but listeners connected immediately. By March 1968, it hit number 1 on both pop and R&B charts.
Wasting time.
It became Otis Redding's first and only number 1 pop hit. The song he recorded thinking about his future became his haunting farewell. Number 2, I'll Take You There, The Staple Singers, 1972, initially rejected.
Oh no, lying to the races. Oh.
The Staple Singers had been recording gospel for over 20 years when they signed with Stax in 1968. They were respected but not commercially successful.
Oh.
Producer Al Bell brought them I'll Take You There, written by Bell himself. When they first heard it, they weren't sure. It was simpler than their usual material.
Let me take you there.
The lyrics were repetitive. Mavis Staples thought it might be too basic, but they recorded it anyway, trusting Al Bell's instincts.
Oh, help me now.
When released in January 1972, Stax didn't promote it heavily. They were focused on other artists. The song entered the charts slowly with only occasional radio play. It seemed destined to be another minor release. Then something shifted. DJs noticed listeners really connected with it. The groove was undeniable. The message resonated across racial and generational lines. By April 1972, I'll Take You There hit number 1 on both pop and R&B charts, staying there for weeks. The Staple Singers, after decades in the business, finally had their biggest hit. A track they initially weren't sure about became their signature recording. Number 1, What's Going On? Marvin Gaye, 1971.
There's far too many.
Berry Gordy didn't want to release What's Going On. He thought it was too different, too political, too uncommercial. He told Marvin Gaye it would ruin his career. Marvin co-wrote the song with Ronaldo O.B. Benson and Al Cleveland. The inspiration came from Benson witnessing police brutality at an anti-war demonstration.
Of you dying, you know.
Marvin was in crisis. Tammy Terrell had died, his marriage was falling apart, his brother returned from Vietnam traumatized.
Talk to me, honey, so you can.
He recorded it at Hitsville, USA, layering his voice in harmony with itself, creating a conversation between different versions of himself. The production was unlike anything Motown had done. Jazz influences, classical strings, protest percussion. When Marvin presented it to Berry Gordy in 1970, Gordy rejected it immediately. Motown didn't release Message Records. Marvin refused to record anything else until it was released. They were at a stalemate for months. Finally, while Gordy was away, other Motown executives released it without his approval. The response was overwhelming.
Tell me what's going on. Woo!
By April 1971, it hit number 2 on pop charts and number 1 on R&B. Berry Gordy had to admit he was wrong. Marvin quickly recorded an entire album around the same themes. A song rejected as uncommercial became Marvin Gaye's masterpiece and changed what was possible in popular music.
Oh, what's going on?